Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Young, the program coordinator for Keep Pearland Beautiful. Thank you for joining our garden lecture series tonight. If you ever miss one of our lectures, we have them on our Keep Pearland Beautiful YouTube page, and our website is pearlandrecycles.com. You can always find our past lectures uploaded on there. We also have our Plant Time Luncheon coming up November 7th. We'd love to have you there. You can go to lunchtime.org to purchase your ticket, and time is spelled like the herb, THYME.org. And tonight we have Kimberly Mayer presenting butterfly gardening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. Howdy, everyone, and welcome to Keep Pearland Beautiful's Facebook Live. Tonight's presentation is all about butterfly gardening. We're excited that you're spending your Thursday evening with us and instead of binge watching Netflix. So don't worry though, I hope to be as entertaining and more colorful than your Netflix show. So I just wanted to share that my name is Kimberly Mayer and I am the horticulturalist serving Brazoria County. My job with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension is to work hand in hand and oversee the Brazoria County Master Gardeners, and I provide educational outreach opportunities on all things horticulture related, from trees to turf to tomatoes. And tonight is no different. Tonight we're going to be talking about butterflies, the what, the why, the where, and how pollinator gardening works with a special focus on butterflies. So before I begin our presentation, I just wanted to share a little bit about our amazing Brazoria County Master Gardeners. If for some reason you haven't heard about them, our Master Gardeners are a volunteer organization. They receive their training through AgriLife Extension, and in exchange for their training, they take that knowledge and they share it with the community in the form of speaking engagements or programs and events and different kinds of outreach opportunities. And so, besides those things, they also have plant and tree and veggie seedling sales as well. So, if you're interested in learning more about the Master Gardener program, you can follow them here on Facebook at Brazoria County Master Gardeners. They also have a great website. You can just Google Brazoria County Master Gardeners and you can find them there. They're also on Instagram as well. So that's just a little bit about me and about our amazing Master Gardeners. And so let's get started with our presentation on butterflies. So let's talk a little bit about why butterfly gardens matter. You might be thinking, why the fuss? Why all the fuss over butterflies? Well, for starters, butterflies are like nature's little messengers. They help plants move pollen from one bloom to another. And that moving leads to fruits and veggies and seeds and more plants in general for everyone. So, fun fact, there's about 80% of all plant species that are pollinated, mostly by insects, and butterflies are a really big part of that. So without butterflies and our other pollinators, we'd be missing out on really great things like chocolate and coffee. Those are definitely at the top two things on my list. Pollinators pollinate berries. They even pollinate alfalfa for our feeding our livestock. So that cup of coffee in the morning, that little bowl of ice cream at night, both owe a thank you to our pollinators. So unfortunately, the bad news is that many pollinators, including butterflies, are in a little bit of trouble. Their habitats are shrinking, their food sources are disappearing, and pesticide use makes it even harder for them to survive. In fact, there was a recent study that found butterfly populations in the US have dropped about 22% in the last 20 years. But it's not all gloom and doom. There is some good news because you yourself can make a difference right in your own backyard. So let's talk about why these are so important. So butterfly gardens can actually help mitigate habitat loss, especially in urban and agricultural areas. They do that by providing food and shelter for butterflies and other insects. They also contribute to the overall biodiversity of an area by supporting a variety of different species that rely on butterflies for food or habitat. Butterflies can also be a really good indicator of the health of your ecosystem. When you start to get declining butterfly populations, that can be an early warning sign of some environmental problems like pollution or climate change. And so they're really a good indicator that we might be in a little bit of trouble there. There's also a really good educational and aesthetic value to butterflies. There's learning opportunities there. Butterfly gardens are a hands-on way to teach and to learn about the life cycle of butterflies. They're an aesthetic pleasure. Who doesn't get their camera out when you're at a butterfly garden and you see these beautiful butterflies fluttering around? They really add a good sense of color and beauty to the garden and the landscapes. They provide enjoyment and relaxation. It also helps to engage your community. Butterfly gardens can be a great way to engage communities in conservation efforts and promote some environmental stewardship. In fact, towards the end of the presentation, we're gonna virtually visit a butterfly garden in the Rosenberg area that you may not know about. So stay tuned for that. Um, like I mentioned with research, the butterflies have also been instrumental in scientific research topics like mimicry and evolution and navigation. We also monitor the butterflies' migration patterns, and we use that data that's collected for monitoring the effects that these butterflies have and really understanding what those environmental changes are telling us. So basically, in a nutshell, butterfly gardens are more than just attractive landscapes. They're valuable tools for conservation, for education, scientific discovery and research, and they really help support all the stages of a butterfly cycle. So what I'd like you to do is really get engaged in this presentation and share some comments. My first virtual question for you is, what butterfly species have you seen recently? So I would love for you to type that in the chat and share with us the one or more of the most recent butterfly species that that you've seen. So be sure to enter that into the comments. Um, so let's take a quick little snapshot, a quick little look at our local ecosystem and what it has to entail. So in Texas, our pollinators can be bats, bees, hummingbirds, butterflies, moths, wasps, bees, flies, beetles, lots of different things. And all these pollinators are what are upholding and contributing to our ecosystem all over the planet. So here in Brazoria County, you might spot several of these type of butterflies. The Gulf fritillary. It's a bright orange with some silver spots underneath its wings. You're probably very familiar with the monarch and queen. They're kind of the royalty of the butterfly world. Maybe you've seen a black swallowtail that has those beautiful blue spots at the bottom of its wings. There's also several different varieties of sulfurs and skippers. And you might even come across a red admiral or a painted lady here in Brazoria County. So, fun little fact, monarch butterflies can actually migrate up to 3,000 miles, and that's like flying from Texas to Canada on nothing but flower power. So I'm not able to see your comments in our Facebook little chat there, but hopefully you entered some good species of butterflies that you've seen recently. I'll be interested to go back and look at your comments when we're done with this presentation. So let's talk about what pollinators need. These pollinators need plants that provide pollen and or nectar, and some insect larval stages are going to need food plants. So nectar plants are blooming flowers that provide nectar, which is a sweet liquid produced by some flowers. Pollen is available from all flowering plants, but not all pollen is desirable for these butterflies and some of our pollinators. Food plants are those that the caterpillar or the larval stage of butterflies and moths live and eat on for nutrients. Pollinators also need water. They need those water sources to survive. Now, they can extract water to survive from the different plants that they chew on, but some prefer open water in a sunny location. Some butterflies, especially, really prefer a muddy spot where they can drink up that salty, mineral-filled water. Um, and so, we call those puddlings. In a previous class, we made butterfly puddlers for our butterfly garden, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But besides that food and water, that these pollinators also need shelter, and that shelter can come in many different forms, whether that's bare ground for pollinators like ground nesting bees. Um, just different types of vegetative structures, even sometimes the underside of leaves or rotting wood. Those are all great places where these pollinators can find shelter. It's also really important to have some diversity in the vegetation that you have. We always talk about the different plants that butterflies and pollinators are attracted to, but they also use lots of trees that grow in Brazoria County for shelter and as host plants. Um, so think about that as well. It's important to have a good diversity, especially in your backyard and in your butterfly garden. So think about the different types of trees, shrubs, grasses, as well as plants that will be beneficial to your butterflies and your pollinators in there. So we talked about the different types of food that butterflies enjoy. And a couple different points that I want to share about that is that it's important to when you're thinking about building your butterfly garden or adding on to an existing one, that you plant clumps of the same type of flowering plants. You want to also design it to make sure that you have lots of different variety of colors and flower shapes so that you really are attracting those butterflies. And again, make sure that you include larval host plants for the caterpillars, which eventually turn into the butterflies or moths. And ensure that those plants are insecticide free. We want those butterflies to have a really good chance at survival. And then we talked about different host plants, and those are really essential for these butterflies, when they come into your butterfly garden and lay eggs, and then their caterpillars start munching on those particular plants that they enjoy, it's important to make sure that you have plenty of those in there. So, for example, monarchs love milkweed. Gulf fritillaries prefer passion vine, and black swallowtails can't resist parsley and dill and fennel. So again, do a little bit of thinking, and I'm gonna show you a design guide and just a few slides that will help you get a better picture of what we're talking about when we want to build this butterfly garden. All right. So here are a couple design tips, some big things to keep in mind when you are thinking about designing your butterfly garden. Your garden design doesn't need to be complicated, doesn't need to be expensive, or it doesn't need to be all consuming. Pollinators, like we've talked about, have a few simple needs. And that's a year-round supply of pesticide-free food and water, and some bare ground or wood for nesting, especially if you've got native bees coming to your pollinator garden. So when it comes to preparing that garden bed, that area, you want your landscape to be pollinator friendly. And so here's a couple things that you can do to make sure that it is pollinator friendly. And then these management practices are not only safe for you, but they're safe for your family, your pets, the earth, as well as those butterflies that you're attracting to your garden. So we've talked about this before, but go chemical free. Try not to, don't use any pesticides in your garden. Um, Use organic solutions and organic alternatives, like maybe bringing beneficial insects into your garden. You can actually purchase ladybugs and praying mantises online, actually, and have them shipped to you to help keep pests away. So that's one organic way to get those bad bugs out of your garden and allow room for the good bugs, those butterflies. Try not to do too much pruning, and if you do, keep some of those spent limbs or branches around as shelters. Bees especially like to make their homes in hollow stems, and so if it's possible, leave some of those branches or twigs around for them. If you do have to till up an area, pull up weeds, or maybe amend your soil with some things, be careful when you're doing that, and remember that you may have some ground nesting bees in that area. So avoid that if you can. And when you are preparing your garden bed, it's also important to take a couple things into consideration, like the slope of your land, because you don't want to have an area that is holding water and not moving water off of it. Those plants don't want to have soggy feet. So think about that when you're choosing an area for your butterfly garden. You also want to think about an area that is sunny, that has a little bit of wind exposure, something like a good southeastern exposure that's kind of protected from the winds. And then figure out what kind of area that you want to use, how big that area should be. You can do something as small as a 3 by 3 area, or go really big if you've got the space. So also keep in mind that it doesn't have to take up your whole backyard. You can make a butterfly garden along your driveway, along a back fence or ditch, the side of your house. If you've got a really small area, or maybe you live in an apartment or a, an area that just doesn't have a whole lot of yard space, you can even do a butterfly garden in containers. So, it's kind of like the sky's the limit. You be creative and use the space that you have available to you, whether it's big or small, and do something. Let's all work together to help do something positive for our butterfly population. So, another great tip when you're designing your garden space, I like to sprinkle in some wildflower seeds, like in between some of my perennial plants. And that just helps create a good diversity of flower sizes and shapes. Um, Different, that way if your perennial plants don't bloom until the late spring or the summer, you'll have some wildflowers that might pop up for you a little bit earlier than that, and provides not only some color for your garden, but some pollen and nectar for those butterflies. So to think about those bloom times when you're choosing the plants that you want to go into your butterfly garden. It's important to have year-round or continuous blooms in that garden so that those butterflies keep coming back. All right, let's keep moving. Oh, there we go. All right, so here is a just a sample design guide for a butterfly garden. This is from the Houston Native Bees organization. And so here you can see a real good visual of the plants that they have planted in this particular garden. This is just an idea, just something to give you, spark some inspiration for you. So as you can see there, we've got different heights. You've got those Esperanza, and it looks like maybe a Vitex tree back there in the back. Those are both tall shrubs that give your garden some height and some variety. And then you can see there in the middle, they've got some shrubs in there as well. And then in the front, they've got some smaller perennials in there. And right in the middle, you've got that habitat in there for bees or any other type of insect that needs some shelter. So there's kind of a visual idea of that. And then I also wanted to show this that goes with it. And this is just more detail oriented, and it will tell you exactly what type of plants they planted in which area. It's on a square foot grid in there, so you can kind of plan out exactly how much room you need. This particular example, I believe, is a 10 by 13 area. But again, you can adapt your butterfly garden to whatever it is, whatever space it is that you have. So I won't read the plant list to you, but those are all some great options for plants that can go into your butterfly garden. And then again, remember we talked about the fact that you also it would be beneficial to attract some bees to your pollinator garden as well. So um, be sparing with the mulch. You may need to put it down here and there as needed, but try and keep that mulch out for the most part so that those ground nesting bees have an area to have some shelter. And then we've said it before, keep that pesticide and that fertilizer, those out of there. So before I go on to the next slide and talk about some soil and maintenance tips, um, we just finished talking about the different types of plants that you can put into your butterfly garden. So I'd love to know from you what's blooming in your garden right now. I'd love it if you would put your comments in the chat and share with us what you've got growing, or maybe even what you, maybe with the first plant that you plan to put in your butterfly garden. Put that in the comments and share it. It may be that somebody shares something that you hadn't thought about. So I would love to be able to go back and look at those comments. So engage with us and share what it is that is blooming in your garden. All right. So let's talk a little bit about soil and the maintenance of your butterfly garden. My colleague and favorite horticulturalist, Skip Richter, always says brown stuff before green stuff. And so basically what that means is before you put your plants into the ground, before you plop a plant into an unprepared plot, make sure that you're attending to the brown stuff before the green stuff. And so what that means is that you want to prepare your soil before you plant a plant, whether it's a butterfly garden or a landscape bed um, or a vegetable garden. And some ways to do that. The number one way that I think to improve your soil is to add compost. Adding compost really improves your soil profile. It's adding good microbes into your soil. And it really just increases the overall health of your soil and will be beneficial to your plant. So if you add anything at all to your butterfly garden, it would be compost to that soil. Again, we've talked about this. Avoid those pesticides. If you can, in areas where you have maybe you have a little bit more weed pressure in one area of your butterfly garden than the other, maybe it might help to put a little bit of mulch down in that area. Besides keeping those weeds out or suppressing those weeds, it's also going to retain some moisture for you. So I find that it's helpful to have a good balance of mulch that may cover an area that tends to get more weeds and leave some other open spots for those ground nesting bees. And of course, we've talked about how the fact that butterfly gardens are beautiful, especially with all those blooms. But in order to continue those blooms, it's important to deadhead the blooms that may have died off or dried up or whatever the case may be. And so it is okay to deadhead those blooms because that's going to encourage reblooming so that you've got hopefully just a continuous bloom of flowers in your butterfly garden. All right. I hope we're all sharing some of the plants that you have blooming in your garden and maybe getting some ideas from our fellow listeners. So, now that we know a little bit about how to create a butterfly garden, I wanted you to think about maybe where you could plant a butterfly garden in your neighborhood. I know where I live in our subdivision, we have a couple small little pocket parks. It's probably one or two. Um, what do you, 1 or 2 acres at the most, if that. But that area in our subdivision is meant to be an area where no houses are built on, and so it's the perfect opportunity for a pollinator garden. And so think about that as you're, driving around town or through your neighborhood on your way home. Think about a great area where you might be able to create a pollinator garden in your neighborhood. And so I did want to share a little bit about butterfly gardening in action. When I was doing my research for this presentation, I came across the Seaborn Butterfly Garden in Rosenberg. You may have heard about it, and hopefully you have, but I had never heard about it or been there. And so I wanted to share it just in case no one else had heard about it like I had. But this is kind of the brainchild of the master naturalist in the Fort Bend County area, and it's called the Seabourn Butterfly Garden. And so, as you can see, they've got this beautiful area where they've added signage. They've got a pergola back there with a bench, and along those paths, they've got lots of different pollinator plants. In fact, it looks like they have been certified as a monarch way station and provided all of the elements to that certification. So this is just a great example of what you can do in your community, whether it's in your neighborhood or a local park, something to put our to help our butterflies increase in their population. And so I would encourage you to take a little day trip to Rosenberg and check this out. This is also a great educational opportunity for schools or garden clubs for them to come and one, just take a look and meander around and look at take in all the beauty. And two, it's educational. Maybe these kiddos or this garden club is learning to identify plants or identify the different pollinators that are in this garden. It can be very educational, very aesthetically pleasing, and relaxing too. Hey, can you imagine sitting in that on that cute bench on a cool fall day, just watching all the butterflies flutter around? So I just wanted to share that with you, and encourage you to check that out. All right, there's a couple other ways that we can go just kind of beyond our backyard. You can join citizen science projects like Monarch Watch. Monarch Watch helps to track monarch migrations. You can join something like Journey North. They follow wildlife movements across the continent, including monarch butterflies. And then, of course, iNaturalist. Hopefully, most of you are familiar or have heard of iNaturalist. But that's where you can, snap a photo of a butterfly and add that to the app. And you're helping to kind of build a global biodiversity map. And so all of these observations and photos that you're uploading to these apps are going to help scientists understand what's happening with our butterfly populations. Both Monarch Watch and the North American Butterfly Association, that's the NABA acronym up there, they both have citizen scientist programs where you can help to gather data that will monitor these butterfly populations. And this just helps raise public awareness by hosting events that really increase general interest in butterflies. And so, in fact, that North American Butterfly Association was the one that provided the primary source of data for the butterfly count that I talked about in the first part of the presentation, where they told us that there was unfortunately a staggering 22% decrease in the butterfly population over the past 20 years. And so there's lots of work that needs to be done to help reverse that trend for the benefit of us and for the benefit of nature. And so even having your front porch or your back porch contain a couple of pollinator plants is helping. So keep that in mind. These are a couple of different ways that you can help be engaged and help our scientists collect this data to help our butterflies. And then another great option is to collaborate with your local master gardeners and master naturalists. So of course, I shared a little bit about our Brazoria County Master Gardeners at the beginning. We'd love to hear from the public about what types of butterflies they're seeing. And then our Master Naturalist program here in Brazoria County is called the Cradle of Texas chapter. You can find both of these organizations on Facebook. And I believe the Master Naturalists have a website as well. So these are all great ways that you can engage with science and do your part to help the butterflies. So my last interactive question or my last little poll for you tonight is to ask if you would ever consider participating in a butterfly count. If you would like to be a part of a citizen scientist program and participate in counting and documenting butterflies, then put that in the comments and let us know if you're willing to participate in something like that. We would love to know. All right. There's a couple of great resources out there on pollinator gardens and butterflies in general. Actually, there's a lot of resources, and what I have here on this slide is just a brief list of what is out there. So, of course, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension has a butterfly gardening guide that you can find online with just a simple Google search. Um, the Native Plant Society of Texas, on their website, they have a really great regional list of the eco regions in this area, and what plants grow best here and benefit our pollinator population the best. Of course, the Xerxes organization has a website as well with phenomenal amount of information on there. I would encourage you to check them out. And then another website that you might not be as familiar with is called pollinator.org. And if you search that, pollinator.org/garden cards, you can scroll down to I think it will say the Texas area. Scroll down to the Texas area, and they have an actual garden card. It kind of looks like a recipe card, and it spells out for you, kind of like in a recipe, exactly how to create a pollinator garden and the specific plants that you can use. So if you prefer a more visual look at how to create a pollinator garden, that I would highly encourage you to check out that website. It's a really great source. You can download that card or print it out and can take it with you to the garden center or nursery to pick out your plants for your butterfly garden. And then on my bucket list, I haven't been yet, but I hope to soon, very one day, head over to the Cockrell Butterfly Center. I've heard really great things about it. It's apparently an amazing place to go and check out all the butterflies. So if you haven't been, I would encourage you to go as well. And that is in Houston. They've got a website where you can check that out and see when they're open. So as we begin to kind of recap and wrap up, I just want to talk quickly about, maybe like the top 10 things that you can do in your yard to encourage pollinators and encourage butterflies. And that, number one is planting a pollinator garden where you're providing nectar and feeding plants that can be in the form of flowers or herbs, planting those in your pollinator garden to encourage those butterflies to come to your yard. Of course, those butterflies need a water source, so place your shallow dishes of water in a sunny area, or create a muddy spot for those butterflies to kind of drink up from a little muddy puddle. They seem to enjoy that. Of course, these butterflies are going to need shelter, so provide shelter for them, whether that be in the form of a little habitat box or a pile of limbs or some leaves even. they need some shelter to keep warm, to keep safe from predators. Of course, you don't want to use any insecticides in your pollinator garden or near it either. You do want a sunny area that's kind of out of the way of the wind, so look for a good southeastern exposure. Use native plants whenever you can, and you want to just kind of mimic a lot of these local natural areas that you see with your plants. You can use the plant list that I provided on that grid guide, or you can go to the Native Plant Society um, website and look at their list. There's lots of choices of plants so that you can have a diverse pollinator garden. Make sure that when you are picking out those plants that you do a little planning so that you have continuous blooms throughout the year, and provide them with a good variety of colors and different shapes of flowers as well. And then plant those flowers and trees in layers. Have some height to your butterfly garden with trees or really tall shrubs. You decide. Do that in layers. And then use compost in to amend your soil instead of fertilizer. And then it's also good to, look, but don't touch. These butterflies are beautiful, but they are very delicate too. So look, but don't touch, so that they can go on about their business and not be harmed from people. So tonight, what I'd like you to do is take a challenge, take some action, plant one new host or nectar plant this month, or set up a little puddling spot for your butterflies. Or if you already have a lot of these things in your yard, maybe you already have a pollinator garden, take a few minutes each week to see who comes to visit. Maybe you participate in one of those citizen scientist program and contribute some photos or some data to them. And by doing all of these things, you're helping butterflies, you're helping all the other pollinators, and you also get to enjoy the beauty and color and peace that they bring to your garden. And who knows, maybe you'll become a butterfly paparazzi with your camera and be taking photos like this before you know it. So as I go to the last two slides, I just have one final interactive question for you. And that's, what's one thing that you're going to try from today's session? Put that in the comments. Tell me something that you plan to try as far as it pertains to a butterfly garden. So as you're putting those comments in the chat, I just want to wrap up with a few couple announcements. In June of 2026, we are having a Pollinator Academy. And so this is going to be a full day of, buzzing all around and learning more about the pollinators that are in our area. This is going to be on June 27th from 9 to 3 at our AgriLife office in Angleton. There is a small fee for the class, but you are going to be provided with snacks and lunch and some take-home materials and awesome resources. You'll be learning from master gardeners and master naturalists all about our local pollinators, native plants to attract those pollinators, and much more. It's a great opportunity to take an even deeper dive into pollinators and how you can support them in your own backyard. You can find this event on our Facebook page. It's the Brazoria County. You can find it on Brazoria County Master Gardeners or Brazoria County Horticulture. There's an event page, and on that event page, it's got a link where you can sign up. So I hope to see you in a couple months for that Pollinator Academy. And then this class was shared with me earlier. Actually, these two different classes were shared with me, and I wanted to share them with you. So there's a free webinar on August 27th that's going to be put on by Molly Keck. She's an entomology specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Um, Now, I don't have a way to share that link with you, but on the very last slide will be my email address. And if you'd like to email me, I'm happy to send that link to you. It is a free webinar, August 27th at noon. And then right below that in September, if you happen to be in the San Antonio area, it looks like there is a botanical garden in San Antonio where they're going to have a class that will cover common butterflies of Texas and the best plants for butterfly gardening. So I wanted to share that with you. And if you need more information on that, you can always call or email us at the AgriLife office. Here's my contact information. That's my email address there. And then, of course, please stay connected with us through Facebook, through our website and events calendar. And that bottom brazoria.agrilife.org is our county website. We would love for you to stay connected with us and keep up to date on all of the events and things that we've got going on, from Pollinator Academy to our plant sales and tree sales and everything in between. So with that, I am going to end our talk on butterfly gardening. I hope that we had lots of engagement and people participating and sharing what they plan to do in their butterfly garden, what they took away from this session. And so I can't wait to go back and look at those comments and see what everybody says. Thank you again for joining us, and I will say good night, and we'll see you back here next month for the September Facebook Live. I believe that's going to be done on fall gardening, if I remember correctly, and that'll be taught by Master Gardeners Ruth and August Amon. Um, so that's something that you don't want to miss. So thank you again for tuning in tonight, and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, Kimberly, you're going to see a lot of Master Gardener friends on there and a few of, I know a few of the local Pearland gardeners that I know. So I think you'll enjoy the
Good.
comments.
Good, good, good,
I
good.
think everybody
Excellent.
really enjoyed the lecture.